The observation deck of the celestial horizon hummed with the quiet rhythm of a ship traversing the void between star systems. Elsa pressed her palm against the reinforced viewport, her breath fogging the glass as she watched the streaking stars blur into ribbons of light. "The hyperdrive stabilizers are failing," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the ship's ambient systems. "Don't stop monitoring the quantum flux readings." Farhat, standing at the engineering console behind her, looked up sharply. His alien features, the bioluminescent markings along his elongated skull and the 4 amber eyes that had evolved on a world orbiting a binary star, flickered with confusion. In his species, the Velkari, such broken speech patterns indicated distress or imminent system failure. He misunderstood. "Elsa, what's wrong? Are you injured?" He abandoned his station immediately, his long fingers already reaching for the medical scanner on his belt. She turned, surprised by the urgency in his voice. "What? No, I'm fine. I was just saying don't stop watching those readings. The hyperdrive is acting up again." Farhat paused, his translator implant processing her words. For 3 cycles he had served alongside this human engineer, and still her species confounded him. The Velkari communicated in steady, unbroken tones. Fragmented speech meant danger. Yet Elsa spoke this way often, and she called it emphasis. "I apologize," Farhat said, his secondary vocal cords producing the harmonic undertones his species used for formal address. "Your communication pattern suggested critical failure." Elsa smiled, another human expression that had taken Farhat weeks to understand. "It's okay. I know human speech patterns are weird for you." That night, everything changed. The hyperdrive didn't just malfunction, it catastrophically failed, tearing a rift in space-time that pulled the celestial horizon into uncharted territory. When the emergency klaxons finally fell silent, they found themselves in a region of space no star charts recognized, surrounded by an armada of vessels that made their cargo hauler look like a child's toy. The Zthore Dominion had found them. Elsa had heard stories about the Zthore. Every species in the known galaxy had. They were conquerors, collectors of lesser civilizations, who viewed other sapient beings as resources to be cataloged and exploited. They had never encountered humanity before. That was about to change. The lead Zthore vessel, a dreadnought, the size of a small moon, transmitted a demand in the galactic common tongue: surrender, submit to processing. Resistance was futile and would result in immediate molecular disintegration. Farhat's bioluminescent markings dimmed with fear. The Velkari had lost 3 colony worlds to the Zthore before fleeing to the outer reaches of the galaxy. He knew what processing meant. Elsa, however, was already at the engineering console, her fingers dancing across holographic displays with furious purpose. "Elsa, we must surrender," Farhat said, his voice steady despite the terror coursing through him. "There is no other option. They will destroy us." "Not happening," she muttered, rerouting power from life support to the ship's defensive systems. "Farhat, I need you to manually align the deflector array. Can you do that?" "It's impossible. Even if we could mount a defense, we are 1 ship against—" "Can you do it?" Her eyes met his, and Farhat saw something that shocked him more than the Zthore armada. There was no fear in her gaze, only determination, calculation, and something his translator couldn't quite capture. His species had a word for warriors who fought impossible battles with joy in their hearts, but it was considered a myth. Humans, Farhat was beginning to realize, made myths into reality. Yes, he found himself saying, "I can do it." For the next 6 hours, Elsa performed what the Velkari would later describe as technological sorcery. She used the damaged hyperdrive not as a means of propulsion, but as a weapon, creating localized spatial distortions that made the celestial horizon impossible to target. She hacked into the Zthore communication network using nothing but basic encryption protocols, turning their own coordination systems against them. And when 3 Zthore fighters broke formation to pursue them, Elsa did something that made Farhat's blood run cold with a mixture of horror and admiration. She flew directly into the gravitational well of a nearby neutron star. "Don't stop. Trust me," she whispered, her hands steady on the controls as reality itself seemed to compress around them. This time, Farhat understood perfectly, and he trusted her. The pursuing Zthore fighters, unable to compensate for the extreme gravitational forces with the same instinctive understanding that Elsa possessed, were torn apart by tidal forces. The celestial horizon, held together by Elsa's constant micro-adjustments and what Farad could only describe as sheer human stubbornness, slingshot around the star and emerged at velocities that should have been impossible. By the time the Zthore realized what had happened, the small cargo hauler had escaped their sensor range entirely. 3 days later, when they finally reached a Federation outpost, Farad filed his report. The station commander, a four-armed Thracian with decades of military experience, read it twice before looking up. Engineer Farad, are you claiming that a single human with no military training and a damaged cargo vessel evaded an entire Zthore battle group? Yes, Commander. And that she used a damaged hyperdrive as a weapon, navigated a neutron star's gravity well manually, and hacked Dominion encryption? Yes, Commander. The Thracian's 4 eyes narrowed. The Council will want to meet this human. They did. And when Elsa stood before the Galactic Council 3 weeks later, giving a technical presentation on her improvised defensive strategies, with the same casual tone she might use to discuss the weather, Farad finally understood what made humanity special. They didn't see impossible situations. They saw problems waiting to be solved. That night had changed everything. The Zthore Dominion, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, suddenly faced an enemy they couldn't comprehend. A species that treated certain death as merely an interesting engineering challenge. And Farad, standing beside Elsa as she received the Federation's highest honor for civilian bravery, realized that he had witnessed the moment everything shifted. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. The universe would never be the same.